If you need a big win against the Cleveland Guardians, you should call Chris Paddack. Doesn't matter how many teams you pitch for, call Chris Paddack. The Guardians have no momentum once again. It's time to ask which pieces really fit here.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, it may not be Festivus, but grievances will be aired today on Locked On Guardians. Thank you to all of you who are showing up every day to watch the show. Shout out to Kevin and Aaron, who I ran into at the game, who said they'll be listening. And I told them how unhappy the post-game recap was. And the podcast probably won't be much better, but thank you for all showing up for a therapy issue of Locked On Guardians. That over there is Jeff Ellis, hosts the show for the last 8 years. I am Justin Lada, here for the last 4 years, and we've spent 19 years covering this organization, from the minors to the draft, all that good stuff. Today's show, we'll talk about some mock draft stuff, because I just cannot spend 30 minutes talking about this game. We'll talk about what pieces still fit on this roster, what experiments need to end. And we start the show off by talking about how the Guardians followed up what seemed like a really important, good, exciting win with an absolute dud in all facets of the game. Even though it was close most of the way, it was still an ugly, ugly game. Jeff, can we? I know you want to talk about Parker, and we got to be fair about that, and there's other stuff too. Can we start with the lineup decision, Jeff? Can we start there?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is, I don't know, when you text me about it, I'm like, I didn't respond because I was like, what else is new? Like, Stephen Vogt, it gets fooled every time there's a lefty opener. Like, every single time this happens, he goes, oh, got to put all my right-handed bats in the lineup. It happens every single time. So I guess it's almost like old news, because it's just kind of comical. At least last time, like, he put David Fry in the 3 spot, so you were guaranteed he would get that at bat. Like, today, that was the whole lineup. Last time was slightly better. I'll give him credit. Last time he didn't completely shift his lineup for the clear opener, but he did today.
Yeah, Rhys Hoskins got 1 at bat against Tyler Alexander, and he expanded zone and struck out. And Alexander's been a good pitcher for the Rangers this year.
Yeah, he's been a really nice find.
Whatever.
They did super well in the junk heap.
They did. Yeah, they did. And that's fine. But the one thing Hoskins does well this year is not chase out of the zone. Like, that's literally the one thing that's keeping him employed right now, is that
he's barreling and walking. He's got 3 components.
Yeah, when you don't chase out of the zone, that's going to lead to walks. Yes, eventually. That's kind of what's keeping him employed. That and the fact they need a veteran, and they're got a couple guys injured, which we'll talk about the Gabby Arias thing a little bit. But yeah, Hoskins in his only at bat against the lefties expands the zone, strikes out. David Fry never faces a lefty, and ironically enough, he ends up getting a hit off Chris Paddack, who's a righty, who he was the first hitter against Chris Paddack. That was the only thing he did well in this game. He ended up having a pop-up bunt for a sack that he couldn't execute. Probably still a little gun shy on bunting after last year's Tarek Skubal incident, but that's the situation. Like, you can't have him bunting, you can't have him playing against righties, and you got to even ask at this point if David Fry even fits on this team at all. But that was just a poor lineup decision. Like, you knew Tyler Alexander at most would have gone 2 innings, so David Fry was not going to get more than 1 at bat against Tyler Alexander. Why was it worth it to have David Fry in there and not Cooper Ingle? He played Khalil Watson. That's great. He didn't have a great day, but Khalil Watson's pretty much carried your offense through a couple of games. And then Chase Lauder's come back, and he's done a lot of good offensive things. We were talking the other day about playing all these rookies comes with the risk. They can't do everything every day, but Watson's done everything. And then the last 2 games that DeLauder's been back, and he's done great. But this lineup at the start was putting them in a bad position to begin with. And then Chris Paddack, they are single-handedly keeping Chris Paddack employed. The guy is on his 3rd team. He's got an ERA that was close to 7 entering this game. And you did jack squat. Like, Gabby Arias took him deep, which is hilarious. And then Chase DeLauder ended up having a big hit to score a run, or somebody drove him in. I'll tell you what I was doing when that happened, but
he drove in a run.
He drove in a run. So they had two or three nice swings in 4 innings against the guy who's been on 3 teams and has almost an ERA of 7. And I understand, Jose's out and Angel's out, but they weren't a great offense recently when those guys came out. Like, you got to dig down deep. And if you want to be the guys and you want to, you got to reach down and have not I don't know if pride's the right word, but come on, you can't be getting dominated by Chris Paddack, who's on a second emergency start against you, and have that kind of performance. You got to be better than that. There's no excuse.
Well, I mean, the other side of it, is you definitely have to do more damage. They had 5 hard hit balls. Their expected batting average was 253 as opposed to Texas's 203. But the reason it worked out better for Texas in the end, just let me finish, is that Cleveland's hard hit was only, even though they had, the hard hit balls, their overall percentage was only 17, where Texas's was 28. So Texas, which is interesting because Texas, when you look at the whole chart, they only had 5 total hard hit balls in the game. And Cleveland had 9, but the overall percentage of hard hits. So I guess maybe there's something different between the little fireball hard hits that they list and the overall hard hit. Because Texas was at 28% and Cleveland's was 17. That 10% difference.
It's the percentages of how many balls are put in play.
Yeah.
So they had a higher percentage of balls in play that were hard hit.
Which is weird because because a lot of Cleveland's just didn't result in things. They were positive. Yeah. But overall,
Cleveland had more balls in play.
Yeah, when I look at what happened in this game, I agree with you. Just if you're curious about it, maybe Tyler Alexander has gone deeper lately. I mean, what I'm looking at is he actually got a save on the 27th and the 28th. He was the closer of the previous 2 games. He's pitching.
He's a reliever.
He's pitching. He's a reliever. I know, but he's pitched 3 days in a row. He closed for him 2 days in a row. He's in the entire month of June, which is nearly over here. He's only appeared in. He had 1 outing where he had more than 2 innings, and he's been fantastic. A .96 ERA for the month of June, by the way. And Tyler Alexander, Cleveland got to Jake Junis. Junis is having a really strong year. These kind of dumpster dives have worked out really well for Texas this year. And when I look at this, but it's I bring this up to go back to your original point, which was there was no point in putting David Fry 6th in the lineup, and really there's no point in Rhys Hoskins batting 3rd. They did get to him, but it's Tyler Alexander was going 1 inning. You can just look at the data and see this is a guy who's pitched the last 2 days. There's no way they're letting him go more than 1 inning after on his 3rd day in a row. Very simple stuff, right? Just to kind of dig deeper into your point, it's like I said, after pitching 2 days in a row, Cleveland almost would never let a guy pitch a 3rd day in a row. That's a no. There's no way they were going to let Tyler Alexander get out of the first. So setting up your lineup like that, and I know some of the logic, if I'm being fair, the logic is the teams often then follow back and will throw every lefty in the pen at Cleveland because of how poor they are. But we also knew that they added Chris Paddack and that he was going to pitch today. So while I understand that logic did not make sense today. So I think when you're looking at
2 days ago, he literally signed with the team yesterday.
Yeah, you knew he was going to pitch. So it didn't make a lot of sense. And while they do have 3 lefties in their pen, and they did get Robbie Alstrom in this game as well as Alexander and Latz, all 3 lefties appeared. They only pitched 3 innings combined between them. No, I guess maybe Latz, more than that. 5 innings.
4 because Latz got a 2-inning save because he's been tough on them. He's really good. But you knew they weren't going to go to Latz until the 8th inning. So it's if Alexander goes to 1st inning only, you've got 7 innings there basically where you're going to only see Robbie Alstrom, maybe 6 if you somehow account for the fact they're going to go a 2-inning save with Latz. So you've got basically so Alexander goes 1, Alstrom goes 1. That's 2. You got
basically about how smart that is. Texas essentially went with the lefty. Then they went with the righty. So Cleveland pulled all their lefties out, and then they went back to the lefties after all the righties were out. So they intentionally they trapped them. It was a trap game. It was 100%. When Paddack came in, he's like, okay, let's go back to the other part of the platoon. And then they just brought in lefty after lefty after lefty.
You should be hitting Paddack anyway. Everybody else is. He's on his 3rd team.
And this is I think what's really frustrating with this team is they had 10 hits. They didn't have any walks. That's been one of the issues lately. They're not walking. The only walk was the intentional walk. But it's Gabby's home run.
Hilarious. That
Gabby's home run. He's one of the 3 stars in this game today. DeLauder's double, one of the other 3 stars in this game. But then, like, no one hit the ball hard, and they just couldn't. Like, we saw Texas would get a guy on second base, and then someone would knock it in. We, for whatever reason, cannot. I think they need a strong sports psychologist or something to figure out. Like, it is now like a block. I mean, they left 8 on base and 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position. Hedges 0 for 2, Hoskins 0 for 1, Arias 0 for 1, Rocchio 0 for 1, Quan 0 for 2. The only person who had a hit was DeLauder. He was 2 for 2, 0 for 1. I mean, the entire lineup was 0 for 10. Like, almost everyone had an opportunity to hit, and none of them came through.
Yeah, they're great at hitting with nobody on base. They
Yeah.
really are. I'll tell you what the best parts of the game were for me, because there were some good moments. I guess we'll call them good.
Really?
That's subjective.
Are you sure there were?
Yeah, I'll tell you what they were. The biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every match, it feels like there's a potential for something big to happen. You can have a momentum shift in the game. The energy changes from tournament soccer is so exciting from opening whistle to final kick. And now FanDuel is giving fans like you a reason to stay locked into every match with every goal pays. Bet on a match, get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals mean more bonus bets. And all you got to do is turn on your token. I did hear that Germany got knocked out, so that's the one piece of World Cup news I can actually talk about is Germany got knocked out, and apparently people are mad that the game was decided by penalty kick. So that is your soccer update from me today. Guardians are falling to 4th in the betting markets for winning the American League. They've fallen behind the Rangers now, so they are falling further back in that. From open whistle to final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. Thank you to everybody who makes Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts. And thank you for being here as part of the therapy session. If you need more therapy than the half-hour show, you can check out the Everydayer Club that gets you ad-free episodes of the show on all your audio platforms. And you can also get access to the private listener Discord where there's other Guardians fans, other listeners to the show, Jeff, myself, and there's literally a Discord channel for every team and every show that Locked On has. So you're always covered for your favorite team every single day. Get LockedOnGuardians.supercast.com. Check the link in the show notes to learn more. My favorite part of the game, Jeff, because I did my part in this game. The Guardians offense didn't. The Parker Messick was good early and then not great. We'll talk about that. My effort was okay. So I was at the game. I went down. I had to go to the bathroom, and they were down 2-0, right? Or no, they were down. Sorry, they were down 1-0. I had to use the bathroom, so I walked down. And I was joking with my wife. I said, "Watch, they'll score a run with me gone, and then I won't come back." Because I'm that kind of person where, in 2020 during the COVID year, remember they were playing the Pirates, and my wife she was my girlfriend at the time, although she'll claim we weren't dating at the time. She went to the bathroom, and the Indians scored, I don't know, a couple runs or something. And I told her she had to stay in the bathroom for the rest of the game. That's how superstitious I was being that year. And I always joke about that. So I walked away, went to the bathroom, went to get a water, and Gabby Arias hit the home run as soon as I left the stands. So I was like, okay, fine. I won't come back. I will keep walking around. So I did a lap around the stadium, watched on the TV, got my water, whatever. I came back, and Parker Messick, they took the lead. They had the RBI double from DeLauder. They took the lead, and I finally came back after the inning was over, after they scored 2 runs. And, of course, Parker Messick gave up the lead after they scored the 2 runs. So you know what I did? I got up, and I walked around again. I went to go buy some ice cream. The ice cream that was there was very disappointing. I paid $8 for the most disappointing ice cream I've ever had in my life. Tried to find my wife a lemon ice. They don't sell lemon ices anymore. She doesn't really eat ice cream. So that was disappointing. So I got my steps in. I overpaid for ice cream. I tried. I did my steps. I walked away when they were losing and they scored runs. I stayed away to keep the momentum going, or the rally, jinx, whatever you want to call it. And then when I came back and they gave up the lead, I left again. So Jeff, I did my part. I did everything in my power to try to help his team, and it didn't work. It wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So the highlight of the game was that I got my steps in and I overpaid for ice cream.
No, I was just watching on the small screen on my phone while after I helped my daughter fall asleep. That was it for me. It was more enjoyable when I got to put the phone down and read books than when I actually had to pay attention to the game itself.
Yeah.
It's just the frustration, right? Like a 10-hit game is a good game. Your pitcher goes into the 7th inning. Like that's how you want it to be. Erik Sabrowski was the best left-handed reliever in baseball at one point. Like it's all these little bits where like you're looking back like, okay, so this is where I want our fans to help me, because I feel like last year, because Sabrowski, listen, his health history is as bad as anyone not named Daniel Espino on this team or Chase DeLauder. Yeah, it's like outside of those two, his is the worst. I feel like last year when he got hurt and came back, it was the same issue. Like he was just not as sharp in his return. So correct me if I'm wrong on this.
Last year he was hurt to start the year, and then he came back and he was good. He missed most of the season and came back late.
Yeah, didn't he? But then didn't he get hurt again, or was that 2 years ago where that happened? Maybe that was 2 years ago.
When he came back. When he came back last year off the IL, because only pitched 29 innings a year ago.
Yeah,
and he was really good in those innings.
So maybe it was
2024 he made his debut. Well, he made his debut. So it was just this year where he started.
It's. I mean, like I said, he was such an integral part of this pen, and it didn't. He's been awful. Every single outing has been bad with him. But I'll say this, hey, Matt Festa to the rescue. He bailed out Sabrowski. Also a nice throw by Quan. Like that inning would have been even worse if not for the throw out at home. And then Colin Holderman. We talked about how
an error.
He did. I know. And then he followed it up with not as good. I was trying to be positive. But Holderman, Holderman had another fantastic outing. He had some struggles late. It was nice to see Holderman rebound. We had this debate off air. I noticed our everydayer, Dave Wendell, got mad at us because we are quote unquote, too supportive of Bybee and too against Gavin Williams.
Yeah. So the Dolans are paying us and now Tanner Bybee's paying us. Is that what's happening?
Apparently. I'd like to point out we've had Tim Herron on the show and I've not been the nicest person to Tim Herron this year. So being on the show does not guarantee your safety. Cooper Ingle was on this show. I have not always been the most supportive of the Cooper Ingle promotion train either. So it doesn't guarantee anything. We like to talk with players, get that opportunity. We were rooting for all of them. But Parker Messick, who's a guy
he's also on the show.
He was. And we have said he is this team's ace, and you have a chance to get on a winning streak, to win 3 in a row. And Parker was solid for the first part of it, but he wasn't missing enough bats. He was
darn good early.
No, you're right. He didn't start good. And then he was
great. No, he was great early.
Wait, I'm getting confused here.
He had 18 strikes and 1 ball for the first 3 innings. He had 32. He had 32 pitches for the first 3 innings, and only 3 pitches were balls. So he was great early on.
And then it's he gets pushed on. But he's not striking out guys quite at the rate you'd like to see for your ace, for your guy where he is at and what you expect him to do. He's got gives up 8 hits over 7 innings. He doesn't walk anyone. No one. I mean, the only walk in this whole game was the intentional walk to Gabby Arias.
And
that's something else to watch. I feel I do the box score bingo every day. I don't know if anyone's looking at it, but for me, it's interesting to at least look at the data. One of the nice things entering this data every day, this is game 84, is they're walking a lot less of late. For a team that when this team was firing on all cylinders and they had a 4-game lead in the Central and they had, before everyone got hurt. But even it's Jose does walk, but Angel does not walk, and DeLauder does walk. But they are just as a team not walking like they did early on in the year. And, you talked about being selective leading to walks. That's not happening with I guess David Fry is walking, but it's not happening with Quan this year, who has his own sets of struggles in spite of being a bit selective. So
I think Quan's walking because I was there today and I was looking at the scoreboard and I was like, he's only hitting 210. I looked up and his OBP was 319. So his OBP is 110 points above his average. So
you're right. His walk rate is at 12.9. So it's still
the highest of his career. That's the only thing he's doing. And Hoskins walks too. Chase.
Yeah. Well, in the I'll say this early on in the year, we're what's wrong with Stephen Kwan? We're well, he's not hitting his launch angle sweet spot and he's not squaring up. He's now 100th percentile for squared up. And his launch angle percentile or launch angle sweet spot 77%. So it's the all-time weakest bat he has ever had. He needs to call our friends over at whoever's sponsoring us this week. I don't want to say the wrong company, but whichever company is sponsoring us, he needs to find some male enhancement because that bat has gone limp. He can't. There's just no exit velo at all.
Suspended? Wouldn't he get suspended for that?
No. I mean, don't you remember the story from years ago?
Yeah.
No, about was it like the gas station stuff players were using? That was.
Oh yeah, well, that's still. I think that still happens.
Yeah. So
right, let's talk. I want to talk more Messick. I think we need to talk about David Fry a little bit too, and then I think we need to do a little mock draft talk too, because I can't talk about the game too much longer. So we'll do some draft talk here in a little bit.
Fair enough.
So we'll finish the pieces up of this game, the merciful pieces, and then we'll get to draft talk. I'll say it as always. Click the button, hit the bell. Hit the bell. Get all notified of whenever reaction videos go live, regular episodes go live. Please subscribe and stick with us when things are annoying. I mean, this team just won 2 of 3, and it felt like things were
against the first place team.
Things are in a good spot. Well, the Rangers are in first place. The Mariners are not.
The Mariners were when the series began against Cleveland.
No, the Rangers were in first place yesterday.
But when the series began against Cleveland, Mariners opened the series.
No, the Rangers. The Rangers. Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay, they meant today. Okay.
And then when they opened the series against Seattle, and then they took 2 out of 3 from Seattle and knocked them out
on Friday. Yeah. It seemed like things were in a better place. I was like, okay, you got Chase DeLauder back, and you're gonna Cooper Ingle and Watson. And like I said, Watson can't do it every day. DeLauder has been your offense the last 2 days, and then it's just this team scores all their runs in one inning. Like it was a 5-run inning on Sunday. They scored 2 runs in an inning this game, and then Jacob Junis gave them a free run with a wild pitch, and then he got hurt apparently. So sucks for Junis because he's having a great year. But the one thing I want to point out about Parker Messick, just kind of going through things. So he gave the leadoff double in the 4th inning, right? And then the Rangers got 2 ground outs, and the Jake Burger ground out was hit all of 61 miles an hour. And it took a great play from Gabiaris to get him at first base. So that scored the first run of the game. So he gave the double and then got 2 weak ground outs. And that's something the Guardians aren't even doing. Like the Rangers got 2 ground outs and somehow pushed a run across. So that's run number 1. And then the 6th inning after they took the lead, which really hurts, like they were up 2-1, and then the 6th inning came and single, and then they had 3 singles like in the inning. The Guardians, they can't manage to do that. And then that was basically it for Messick. I think in the 7th inning, what really bothered me was that triple to right field to Khalil Watson. It's not an error, but he didn't necessarily play that ball the best off the wall. His foot got caught in the padding of the wall, and Collie, who runs really well, got to third base with 1 out. Yes, and then Nicky Lopez, who somehow kills the Guardians. It's a 77-mile-an-hour broken bat single to score the run. So it's like I would say 2 of those runs, like we said, Rocchio kind of screwed Gavin the other night too. I would say the defense kind of screwed Parker, and he got bad-whipped a little bit. Personally, again, if he's your ace, I agree with you. If he's your ace, he's got to go out. Like the situation where Collie tripled, he needed a strikeout or a pop-up. He needed to get out of that, and he didn't. But it's just funny. I came into the game feeling, okay, Parker's pitching. They got a chance to win. I thought they did. And it just kind of, he didn't get outs when things got tough, which stinks. He also had some bad luck. But that's the thing other teams are doing. Like, they're getting runs with little ground outs. Like I said, the first run of the game was a 61-mile-an-hour ground out. And then Nicky Lopez breaks his bat on a 77-mile-an-hour blooper. They scored a run. That's the things that are happening to the Guardians. Those are things that are not happening for the Guardians. Like you said, 10 hits is a good game. You should be able to score enough. You should be able to hit the ball harder off of Chris Paddack, for God's sake. But they're not getting the broken bat hits. They're not scoring runs with ground outs. They could use more walks for sure. So that is just what it is. And it's also silly for me to point out, again, David Fry had 1 hit, and it was the blooper off of Chris Paddack, of course, the right who he should have been in there against. But at what point do we just say, I know you've been saying this, but at what point do the Guardians just say, it's nice that David Fry could catch and play left and play third base if you need him to or whatever. But the versatility doesn't really mean a whole lot when you can't hit and you're already down 2 hitters and you're with injuries. I just don't know. You have Bringle here. You have a third catcher. You have 2 of the best defensive catchers you're going to find. what do we need to, what does David Fry do here anymore? Like if this was Office Space, they'd be calling him in and saying, what exactly would you say you do here?
Yeah, and like I gotta be real honest. So David Fry seems like a great dude. I've only heard nothing but positive things.
Yes,
but I have been the driver of the doubter bandwagon because it's like he made an all-star game because he had a 450 BAPIP, and like I said, I'm gonna eventually make a shirt that says it's not a breakout, it's BAPIP, and like everything went right for him for 2 months, and then he got hurt. So then we had an excuse. Oh well, he needs surgery, and that's why he didn't hit. And then he was coming back from surgery and didn't hit. It's like no. Some guys, Brian LaHare, that's like a code language between you and I, because we remember the terrible Jim Bowden piece where it's like the Guardians should trade their top prospect for him when it was very clear he was playing over his head. Nolan Jones, right? Like Nolan Jones, Jim Bowden wrote was going to win a batting title after his rookie year in Colorado, ignoring the 400 BAPIP. So, Will Benson, everyone screamed about it. Like, I can keep going. That's the thing. And David Fry is that as well. We have to be real honest. That was David Fry. This year, I mean, he's actually played more against righties and lefties. And this year, it's a small sample either way, but he's got a 118 WRC plus against righties. Against lefties in 83. He is not hitting lefties at all. He's just walking against them. He's striking out at a much higher rate. He's not getting the job done. I mean, I bet he still has options left at this point. He does. He has 3 full options. Honestly, when these players get healthy, it shouldn't be Cooper Ingle going to AAA. It shouldn't be Watson going to AAA. It should be David Fry. Perfect AAA backup right now. Like, maybe he gets reps because of what you have down there, but David Fry should be the guy to go. And, you've got your Hoskins to occasionally be a right-handed bat, but let's be honest, David Fry isn't helping your team, and he's not working as a platoon player. And management needs to fix this the same way they fixed it with Stuart Fairchild by letting him go. Just because a guy is right-handed doesn't mean they hit lefties. The one thing I will say that I'm very positive about and happy is how much they're moving Quan down against lefties, because he's terrible against lefties. Like really, really, like he's the worst hitter on the team almost against lefties. I got to double check that. That's just from when I looked earlier in this year. That was about a month ago. I could be wrong. But you can't. David Fry doesn't work. It hasn't worked outside of the 2 months where he had a 450 BAPIP, and it just hasn't been since then. And Cooper Ingle can be your emergency catcher. He's done a lot of it. It doesn't mean he has to start or play there every day, but like he can play it. In a pinch, he can be the emergency third catcher. Ingle and Watson should stay. We can debate who else.
Call Cody Huff. Just call Cody Huff. Just do that.
Well, the one thing I'll say with Cody Huff is I would actually now keep him in AAA, and this will be controversial, but I just don't see. I know people will be like anywhere, but it's like Cody Huff is harder to integrate, I think, on the team right now. If you're integrating Ingle and Watson when everyone is healthy, fair. Just in terms of that, like Stephen Kwan is is the worst hitter in baseball just about over the last calendar year, but he's still going to play every day. Like, let's just be honest about that. Like, we can talk about that. But he's and he no one plays the wall better than him. Like, he should have, there should be like a decal of him on the left field wall when he leaves eventually. That's probably his greatest contribution, is that just how great he was off the wall there in terms of defense. But I think you got to keep Ingle, you got to keep Watson, and David Fry. I think he's got to be one of the first guys to go when guys get healthy. Maybe it's going to be unpopular. I know there's other people.
No, I agree.
Guys that get hated more. It's like, and I'll say it again with Gabby, so inconsistent. But as you mentioned, like that Jake Berger play, that arm plays, and
the Homer bought him another month. Let's be honest.
In the Homer bought,
he wasn't going. He's not going anywhere anyway.
I still wonder, like, if there's a right team, like, someone like Milwaukee, for instance, like. They've got David Hamilton at third base. It's just kind of been a roving mess. They cut Louis Rengifo. Like, is he a part B and a piece for something else? Like, is he a part C and a piece for something else? Because C. Milwaukee turns around and turns him with his bat speed and his hard hit percentiles and his defense into Junior Caminero. Just like they turned Jake Bauers into, Yandy Diaz part 2, essentially.
I will say Jake Bauers has slowed recently, because I was looking about picking him up on a fantasy, and he has kind of hit the skids lately. Can I twist the knife further in your back right now, Jeff? Twist the knife
go for it. Further? Go for it. It's a day for twisting.
All right, the Cubs won today, and Seiya Suzuki had the walk-off hit.
I mean,
that's not the episode we've gotten to yet. But
no, and like I said, you can go back. Like I have been very anti most signings from like Asia, just because like
I know
they're expensive. You have to pay fees. That's the one guy I wanted. That is the one guy I was like all in on from the start. And it's like, I mean, they never had a chance there.
And we said we wanted the Cubs to go down.
Yeah,
we said we wanted the Cubs to die this year and trade Suzuki, and it's not going to happen now.
I think he has like a limited no trade or something like that, and I guarantee Cleveland's on it. I mean, just based on
for sure.
What Ichiro used to say about Cleveland. Let's be honest. I don't think.
Yeah, that'll make it. You know what? That'll make a great episode for the lockout next year. We can talk about the Guardians' lack of ability to scout the Pacific Rim.
I mean, they punted it. Let's be honest. They have punt. They just
they punted. They don't even try. It wasn't going very well.
Yeah.
No, so we'll talk about that during the lockout next year, I'm sure. Let's
deep dive on Kaz Tadano. Is that one of our episodes during the lockout? Deep dive on Kaz Tadano. Very deep.
That sounds like a Jeff.
Go deep on him.
Actually, that seems like a Jeff solo episode after dark. Let's wrap up the short time we have left on mock draft. So, Baseball America's 5th mock draft of the year of the season has dropped, and they have Sawyer Strosnider going to the Guardians at 19. I don't think that's the first time Carlos has had Strosnider there, but I don't think that necessarily means they're taking him. Like you always say with mocks, it's like you're trying to figure out where guys fit. Like you start assigning guys to areas, and then some guys start falling, and you're like, okay, well, I got to find a place for this guy. And then the other thing too is I think this is like a cat and mouse game or like a favor. I'm not saying Carlos is like compromised or anything like that, but Carlos, we know, is very, very close with some of the Guardians front office, and there's almost
never gotten their pick right.
Yeah, and then almost like Carlos is not that bad. He knows information.
No, he knows stuff.
So it's almost like there's. I'm not saying he's compromised being used, but it just feels like there's something going on there because we love Carlos, but it just feels like it's almost like intentionally off the trail there. Now, I mean, Strosnider could be a fit for them. Like he's got the tools, and if he slides to 19, I think he's an option.
I think he goes later than that, which is what Carlos says in his write-up. That Strosnider might go even later. And here's my thing.
I'm just not enamored with any of the college bats. I'm just not. I'm all in on a high school bat.
Sawyer Strosnider, who has worse data and worse performance and worse batted ball and worse everything than Logan Thomas, who played in the same conference.
Yeah,
like I get it. He's bigger. And he has better
because speed. He's right-handed, right?
No, they're both left-handed.
Logan left-handed?
Yeah, they're both left-handed.
We keep forgetting.
No, Aiden Robbins is the right-handed guy. I kept messing up. But they're both left-handed. But Logan Thomas has better batted ball data. He has better performance data. And so Strosnider could play right. Logan Thomas is defensively limited, but like he was a better player in the same conference. Yet no one has them there, and he's got great batted ball data. So I don't know. Strosnider is a guy who I've got late in the 20s, and I agree with Carlos's statement. Like it's just like the problem with Strosnider is he had a bad year. Like he was a guy who was viewed as a potential top 10 guy. So it always feels weird moving him down. Like yesterday, I had to have a big discussion with myself. I was working on my big board. I wrote Landon Tomey up as my 43rd profile yesterday. And I moved Justin LeBron.
Cleveland, by the way.
No, he's not. But I have him higher than most. I kind of came around to him. But like I had to move Justin LeBron way down. Like I kept kind of hedging my bets. I was like, end of the day, you know what? All the data here says this is not where you should be. Like sometimes you have to ignore the fact of where a guy was ranked or where a guy has name value and just put them where they should be based on performance and data. And I think Strosnider is unfortunately one of those guys. We'll have to see. I think Cleveland's just going to sit and see who slides to him. It does feel like a good spot. Like I said, after the combine, Archer Horn is a good name that really, though I think Carlos didn't have him like moving up at all. So.
No, I'm pretty much all team prep bat at this point this season. I've got a lot of prep bats. I like at 19. I'm all team there. The other thing I will say about Strosnider too, I know we're short on time, is great freshman year. He's a draft eligible sophomore, which Cleveland technically has steered away from. Although you said the last couple of years they have.
They've taken a few.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where I think Curley was right.
Yeah, Curley was a draft eligible sophomore. You know, they've always valued a strong non-draft year, like guys who have good sophomore years and poor junior years. Technically, he's had a disappointing sophomore year, but he had a great freshman year. So, like, they're always apt to discount a poor draft cycle year. So, believing in the previous year's data and trying to buy low, I guess. But the thing that JJ Cooper wrote about last year with Chase Lavalette, like batting average doesn't mean crap, and it means very little, I should say, in Major League Baseball. But in college baseball, it means a heck of a lot as far as drafting. And for the same thing, Chase Lavalette, is struggling. And I know Strosnider had 282 BABIP, but he had 273. Guys who hit below 300 in college, the track record is not good in the majors or the pros. So I don't know. The college bats this year at 19 just would disappoint me. And I know you are interested in Cade Townsend, and there's some interesting pictures, but again, I'm team high school bat.
I put Tyler Rabe ahead of Cade Townsend, or no, I put Townsend ahead of Rabe, but it's close. I did my Rabe right up last night too.
On that, I wouldn't be disappointed with a college arm. I think I'd be underwhelmed with the college bat, and depends
on the bat. I'm fine with Ace Reese there. Honestly, I'd be fine with Logan Hughes, but they're not taking him.
No,
I was trying to think who else. If I wouldn't be upset if they took Aiden Robbins. It's not going to happen, but I wouldn't be upset by him. Those are guys in that range. Yeah. But yeah, it does feel like very much a prep hitter area. And I would be extremely disappointed if it's a prep pitcher, because the bust rate is just too high. I want nothing to do with a prep pitcher.
Yeah, not at 19. I mean, the only guy I'd be interested at 19, I know you don't like him as much as I do. I like Carson Bowman. He's a dude I'm interested in. And you're not going to get him at 54. So we'll dive deeper on the draft. I just wanted to talk some of it today because I just was so frustrated with this game. And hopefully you were coming back tomorrow. We'll see if the Guardians can be a little less frustrating. It's what is it? Is it Tanner tomorrow? Tanner and Jacob deGrom. So surely they're going to hit the ball. Won't score for Tanner, and you can't hit Jacob deGrom. So we'll see you for a therapy session on Wednesday.
Thank you all for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily. It helps. And go Guardians, go.